Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected. And if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now, before I introduce our illustrious panel, I'd like to say another massive thank you to my most recent Patreon, who makes it 5 in a row in consecutive days, joining me, giving me extra support at a time that I thought people would be deserting me for speaking out against the scientific invalidity that is the claims of proof of ether using science. And instead, the damage that was done back in 4 years has obviously already been done. And instead, this is going to be more support for being called a scammer by way of people super chatting. And I want to thank you also for your overwhelming support since this has begun. I thought it would massively be to my detriment. I stood corrected when I was hesitant. 10th Man said, "This will help you." I was wrong. He was right. This has definitely helped. Thank you to all my new patrons. One of them who dropped a bundle on me immediately. I'm overwhelmed and elated because I rely upon the people of Patreon and others in YouTube and AdSense and all that stuff to live on. So I'm very, very, very grateful that the support has increased rather than my livelihood being threatened, which is why I'm so furious with Jeran. But there we go. I just wanted to get that out of the way. Shout out to you, all of you on Patreon. If you want to join me on Patreon, I really appreciate all of your support. There's a link below if you did want to join. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say, first, a welcome to 10th Man, of course, and Neil Castelletto. I'll just call him Neil, because I'm a bit overexcited. Adam, Arwin, Chocolate Sane, and a whole bunch of people in Gilded. So, welcome, one and all. Got there in the end.
Good morning.
Afternoon, everyone.
Good morning.
Castellano, blah, blah. Yeah, that's how I said it.
Good afternoon.
Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge that's a horizon formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
Wouldn't that require an R value?
I'm sure that would require curved water too.
Curved water.
Geometric obstruction. Geometric obstruction.
Yeah,
Where
that's what
is
I'm
it?
asking for.
Yeah, so where is it then, Nathan?
I
Where's
love
your
it.
geometric obstruction?
Every time at AR we do something like this, right, within a split second, I know instantly what he's doing. So what Armin's done, correct me if I'm wrong, Armin, you've used Witzit's trick. You've taken the question and paraphrased it back to me, like I need to answer where the geometric horizon is. The physical obstruction is, well, where is it, Nathan? Yeah, that's what we've been asking for about 4 straight years, Arwin. How is it that you suddenly are paraphrasing this back to me like I should be answering you this question? What the hell?
No, that's a straw man. It's a straw man.
He's doing it again. Now he's just trying to antagonise me. Hold on, and Chocolate's rumpusing to add to the confusion. Right, what do you mean I'm straw manning you? What, with your own claim parroted back to you and then re-paraphrased back to me by you as a defence? How is that a straw man? I'm keeping up so far.
Well, you just don't want to answer the question.
Guys, doing a good job, you've got to admit, ladies and gentlemen. Arwin, go and subscribe today just for that third in a row. ARWIJN. He has a show an hour before this show. He's ace, right? This is what makes Arwin fucking ace. So, yeah, okay. I'm just not answering. What was that reply? I can't even remember. I've lost track now.
Well, where the geometric horizon is? Where is it, Nathan?
I'm not going to be defending that claim.
Can I pull out my citation now?
Sure, sorry, Chocolate.
My citation is the rumpus. The geometric horizon only exists in the maths. Case closed. Thank you.
But in the maths, it's asserting that it's our world. It's called Earth curve maths and is claimed to be the derivation of the physical geometric sphere edge that blocks boats and buildings in the photographs. The bit being in the photographs, we know that's not the case, but go on.
Wait. So we don't live in maps? That maps aren't blocking boats and buildings in the distance? That's what you're saying?
No, the last image
Can't
of
be.
the Black Swan was an image of 2 oil rigs. This image, which would be derivative, I think this is from AB Science or Simondan or someone like that, has got, number 1, it's got 2 horizons. Number 2, it's got your own head in the view. So you're seeing both the target, which would be the picture front on of these 2 oil targets. Well, number 1, they're not one behind the other anymore. They're side by side in orthographic view with your own head in view, with 2 horizons that are single points on a sphere edge in view. We don't see the world like this, but that's where the geometric horizon exists.
Well, chocolate, according to Akumu virus, math is reality.
This is math.
Man.
So, no. Here we go. That's what a horizon really looks like. It's not 2 points, one that's geometric, never to be seen, but also simultaneously claimed to block boats and buildings, and one apparent, that would be the apparent position where the sky meets the ground or sea. That's what they had in that diagram just past. Here's a real horizon. You've got 2 oil rigs with the horizon behind them. Well, that's because it's not blocking them. It's not a physical limitation to their view. It's not a hill in the way. It's not Earth curve. Hashtag Black Swan. Hashtag one horizon.
Chocolate, if you have 3 apples and you take away 5, in reality, how many apples do you have?
I
Negative.
do that because
Okay.
I don't have 5 to take away.
Thank
That's
you
how
very
that
much.
works in reality.
Okay, so now if you have 3 apples in math and you take away 5 in math, how many apples do you have?
That would be -2.
God, don't they taste good on that side of the line?
You can't have negative 2 apples. Maths is not reality. It's a description. It's like a language. It's like saying English is reality. Well, no, English is a language. You use it to describe things. But it's not the reality. Neither is maths. Maths is just a way of describing things. It's a language.
So you're saying somebody can't slap me with a bag of 5s or something?
No.
Nah.
Well, negative apples
Oh,
are
man.
kind of pear-shaped, so
Say again, Creation Bear.
I was just saying, negative apples, they're pear-shaped, so, just watch out.
It's not a perishing apple, though, is it? A negative apple is an apple for the future when one's redeemed that you can pay off the deficit with, if you want to put it in descriptive terms, and try and actualize that into a physical means of describing how an overdraft isn't actually, you having negative gold back on the old standard. There isn't such thing as negative gold either. But
He said
But you know what's
pear-shaped.
funny? That's the answer you'll get sometimes when I ask that question. Can you take 5 apples for me if I've only got 2? Oh yeah, I can take the 2 and then owe you. Like it's like no, we're not talking about IOUs, guy. Relax. Just talking about right now, right here in front of me. Can you take 5 if I've only got 2?
the point being that we don't live in the maths of the physical geometric sphere edge horizon that we see in Muppet Vision, as per this donkey dick horizon, second horizon that we don't see at a geometric point they need for R in this diagram on screen being held up to a donkey. In the diagram, you've got the side of your own head, 2 horizons, load of nonsense. That's not where you live. But you can describe it if you want to reify the world into a spherical surface when you can't get R, because this is paradoxically taking away the R you need to bend the horizon with a refracted 7/6 R value. You can do that, but it doesn't mean you live in this maths. And Rumpus, our former opponent who likes to lie through his back teeth about what he's claiming, i.e. that there is a geometric horizon blocking the Isle of Man, and then there isn't, it's always been refracted, aka a lie that he told and will never return as a result. It's the kind of thing that you can reify into existence if you choose to do so. We don't live in maths. Maths is a descriptive language.
That was a real complicated way of saying boats don't go over the curve.
So basically, we know it's a thought experiment, and the whole Western world, for the most part, and other parts of this world, have seen the tricks and said, yeah, that's my reality. And then here comes Flat Earth Debate and says, here, let's uncover the tricks. And this is why your show is going to succeed, Nathan, because we're showing people how they've reified math and said it's reality when it's not. Because they didn't show art. They didn't show geometric horizon that actually blocks things, and they can't.
Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Another thing they can't show,
Wouldn't that
but
mean
they
my house
say
was
it's
moving?
happening.
Hold on, 10th. Go again. Was that Creation Bear? Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry about that. I didn't mean to rumpus you there, but 10th. But wouldn't that mean my house was moving
Well,
if there was axial
it dep-
rotation?
yeah, the house on the Earth and the Earth was moving. They both would be moving. Yes.
Hold on. I think I know where Creation Bear's going with this. What he's hoping you'll get led by is the implication that if you're in your garage and it's claimed that the Earth is rotating as a non-inertial turning reference frame, and then you move diagonally, say, across the house to the top bedroom, according to the globe Earth, not only are they moving, they're moving at different speeds. Correct? Is that where you're going with that, Creation Bear?
Hey, you tell me. They're just telling me it's rotating. So,
If
I'm
you
just.
go upstairs, you should technically be going faster, yeah.
Hey, if that's what the experts say.
Any
That
evidence
is
of the
some
distance to the
expert
sun?
type shit.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Chocolate.
No, I was just saying that is some expert type shit.
Well, so far, 2 questions and 2 summaries of 2 questions. We don't see Earth curve blocking anything, and no one's ever experienced Earth rotation. And yet people believe these 2 things.
Well, the
Yeah,
negation of
10th.
the first one actually
I thought
takes out the
flat Earth
second
was supposed to be
because
the.
Hold on. You're stepping on each other. Go ahead, Creation Bear. You go first, then Chocolate.
Yeah, 10th. I was just going to agree with what 10th was saying that apparently flat Earth is the crazy position to take, but different speeds. So just pointing that out. Go on.
Go ahead, Chocolate.
Well, no, I was just going to add that the problem with the second question about the first one, because what's supposed to have an axial rotation is a ball. This ball will require a radius, which would. So it's not a ball. It's not a ball spinning. It has to be a ball first.
You go with any scientific evidence of gravity?
Can you define it first?
I'm not claiming it, but the current
Gravity.
definition. Go on.
What's that?
Okay. So that's not going to get answered.
Are you trying?
Well, I'm
Are you
open to
trying to say gravity? What's that?
you try that one more time. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Scientific evidence of what?
Thank God you're here, Anthony.
Hell.
Shout out to Travis. I have no idea. Next question.
Let's move on. Any single viable
And don't
hypothesis
fault
from
me.
Well-
Don't fault me.
Hang on. I was waiting for a pause, but I waited too long. But they've been again. Here's the third one. What is it? I've never observed it. Mass attract mass was the old version. Now there's a new version, but I've never observed what they say it does.
I'll pull out my next citation. We have no idea. Next question. Neil deGrasse Tyson. That's the astrophysicist telling you we don't know what gravity is.
It's the globe priest.
Yeah,
Priest of
science communicator and all of such things. But he tells you straight up and down. I have no idea. Next question. As far as what it is, we don't know. Well then, why do all these people on the internet who call themselves globers or whatever feel the necessity to tell us what it is when the astrophysicists, the globe priests who run around teaching this shit don't know what it is? That's adorable to me.
Sure, but
So far we've proved.
they'll happily throw Neil deGrasse Tyson under the bus, though, won't they? You know, the moment he says something that's in line with heliocentrism and the actual globe rhetoric, but doesn't comport with the anti-flat Earth rhetoric because that standard globe rhetoric that Tyson punts has been overcome by us, they'll just throw him under the bus. Oh, well, he's just not right. We're right with our anti-flat Earth rhetoric.
So far, with all these questions, it proves we live in a false reality that they say is our reality, and we've proven the matrix already.
Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Hell no.
You define what a hypothesis is.
A hypothesis is otherwise known as a scientific prediction. It establishes your supposed cause, that would be an independent variable, of an effect you observed in nature. That would be your dependent variable, otherwise known as the thing you're trying to figure out the effect of. The study is of the dependent variable. It also contains a null, which is the antithesis of your alternative prediction, aka the zero difference result. So you've got a prediction of cause and a zero difference result. Independent variable, dependent variable, everything else which won't be varied will be held constant. That's a hypothesis.
Well,
So in those fields that you mentioned, an independent variable and rigorous testing would involve what?
Rigorous testing would involve putting what has been assumed to cause an effect through the process of varying it to see if it causes it by multiple people in multiple scenarios. So you can validate empirically that there's been nothing done incorrectly in the method. As long as the method's been followed, it's not actually necessary to do it more than once, but men are fallible and you've got to try and figure out if there's anything we've done incorrectly. So you do it over and over and over and over again and hope that along the way people will ask further questions that will expand your scientific knowledge and develop more experimentation to be done upon discovery of new phenomena. So that's the process
trouble.
of science. Go on, Adam.
That's going to be the trouble in those fields. You're going to have plenty of dependent variables, phenomena that you can witness. But if you're going to then try and put any of those fields into experiment and vary anything, that's going to be your issue. That's probably still why we're still waiting for a hypothesis.
which means you can come up with hypotheses all day, but to have an actual viable one would be a problem. Which is why that word viable is in that question, right?
Sure, but you haven't got to have that many things fulfilled to be a viable hypothesis. In fact, really only two when you break it down. One is a phenomena observed in nature, otherwise known as something that you've looked at and go, I wonder why that happens. Now, if you look at something and go, I wonder why that happens, and it turns out that it's a windmill made by a man, you can say a man made a windmill. You know what the cause is. You can see the effect. That's synthetic, technology-based, which is fine. People have to troubleshoot technology to make it work better. It's just not science. It's technology. Troubleshooting. Okie dokie. Now, if you go out and go, I wonder why that happens, looking at rain, that's a natural phenomena. So that's a dependent variable, something you've observed to happen. Well, that's half the hypothesis already. The only other thing you need is an assumed cause of that effect. And that has to fulfill a couple of criteria. One is that it's going to be, first and foremost, the thing that you actually write down in this hypothesis. Yeah? So if I say how much soil I stand on, yeah, or how loosely compacted the soil is beneath my feet, I can say, okay, that's something I can vary. Pretty crap. But it's real, and it's going to be the thing that I actually do vary. So if I write down density of soil beneath feet, that's what you've actually got to vary. Not anything else, only that, because it's an independent variable. Well, that's the full hypothesis. Your presumed cause of the effect and the effect. Other than that, you've got the zero difference result written alongside. Zero difference meaning nothing happens. You vary how much the soil beneath your feet is squidging beneath your feet, and it doesn't cause it to rain. Well, that's also the prediction that gets written down. If soil variation, no rain. But that's a zero difference result, otherwise known as a null. If A, not B. So because they both are written down alongside one another in the hypothesis, you've then got an empirical outcome at the end when it's actualized, which is to say you vary the thing you think causes the effect and see if it causes it. If it doesn't, you validate, that would be prove, your zero difference result. If A, not B. If I vary the soil, I don't get it to rain. Proven. I varied the soil and it didn't make it rain. Proven. Done. Tick. Anyway.
So when they claim black holes and dark matter, if they can't vary and manipulate, it's just a philosophy, right?
Well, it's an observe and declare situation. So they say, mistakenly, we can, if they have even supposed a cause, substitute an explanation which is validating empirically that you know what causes the effect you're studying with just the hypothesis. So a hypothesis without the experiment is a supposition of cause, but you can rephrase it slightly. In some cases, you don't even have to reword it, which is if A then B, where if A is the variation of your presumed or supposed cause of the effect. But if you just say that, well, if A, then B. Suddenly, with a high-pitched intonation, my hypothesis becomes a statement. If A, then B. So if I vary how much the squidginess of my soil is beneath my feet, then it'll rain. Suddenly, my hypothesis isn't a hypothesis that's a supposition of cause anymore. It's a statement of an explanation. Whereas in reality, it hasn't been varied to validate that it causes it. That's the problem we're in at the moment in Flat Earth. We've got people in our community who have realised that you've only got to change the intonation of what you state when you come up with a just so story that sounds like it's got science attached to it, with words like experiment. And all they're really doing is coming up with a story, if A, then B. That's a story until you vary A and see if it causes B. But you can say it in such a way that you've got experiments, and those experiments might be the very thing that you're studying. The effect in the windmill? Well, why does the windmill do what it does? Well, number one, we already established that. It was a man that made it. It's not something occurring in nature that it needs concernment with because it's been man-made. It's been troubleshot. It's been technologically advanced as opposed to scientifically. So if that's not the phenomena we're studying and it isn't going through the method, it's not to be concerned with. And talk to people on a technology forum rather than an Earth forum.
So Nathan, all these things that are claimed, and the tagline to it is scientist says, science proves, it's just observe and declare until they're able to manipulate the IV and have a viable hypothesis?
Well, if they have, they could lay it out and we could put it through the method, which would be to say we vary A and see if it causes B or not. But we haven't got that because we have the just so story they assert. Well, the reason that light is performing the way it does in the telescope is because the light is bending through a fourth dimensional space-time in this maths. Well, that's not them varying a cause to see why the light is doing what it does in a telescope, is it? That's a just so story based on a fourth dimensional reified world that we don't exist in, causing the effect of the light that we observed. That's a just so story with a seeming to be hypothesis mistaken for an explanation, intentionally. Speaking of skies and stars and telescopes, any evidence that you can have gas pressure without a container?
Nope.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
I mean, where do they even get that idea from?
I don't know. I know the backstory that they've got alongside it, but I don't know where it originates from. Sorry. Anybody know where molten iron core is originating from?
Well, it's like they've changed their story already. I saw an article recently that was like, "Oh, just kidding. We thought's down there. Something else." I'll see if I can find it, but yeah, just making stuff up, obviously.
Well, the molten iron core being a science textbook, and if something doesn't line up with the story for whatever reason, it's far easier to both declare that science has proven we've got a molten iron core in the textbook labelled science, and say science doesn't prove anything. It only disproves things, so we're only trying to advance ourselves. When we get it wrong, that's what science for, getting it wrong, and now we're going to get it right with our new Just So story.
Here's a headline. Scientists discover the Earth's inner core isn't solid or liquid. It's super ionic.
Oh, really? That's interesting. Hey, Chocolate, are you somewhere quiet?
Yeah, it's pretty quiet where I am.
Okay, got a couple more
How does it
housekeeping
sound to you
questions.
guys?
I'll do a proper introduction to what we'll be doing shortly. Any evidence of the R value, Earth radius?
See question 1.
Any evidence that you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline?
Angle, you say?
Angle, 2 straight lines, yeah, with a vertex.
If you could just get past the flat plane, I could show you how it's a sphere.
Wasn't that almost a verbatim quote from Protothad?
Basically, yeah. It's paraphrased slightly, but yeah.
We also had the same rebuttal from Zanuck when he sneaked
Yep.
back in once. Go on, Chocolate.
Something you were hung up on.
The details.
Yeah, don't get hung up on
Yeah,
that flat plane, was Zanuck's reply. When we were like, well, how are you going to get an elevation angle measurement if you haven't got a flat plane beneath your feet? Don't get hung up on the flat plane bit.
Yeah, that has me in stitches.
I said, what if we wanted to just use the sphere first? I mean, why don't we do that? Oh, yeah, we turn it to a flat plane. Oh, okay. That seems useful then.
Might be an
And the
opportune moment for
means-
John. Go on, John. Can you ask your question? Because this is going to get refined over time, but that kind of concludes the housekeeping. Go on, John.
And the means by which you get past the flat plane is you ignore it and then apply the Habersign formula to it after you've ignored it.
And measured it.
Yeah, after you measured it, you've modeled it as flat, measured it as flat. Ignore all that and just apply the Habersign formula and you're fine.
Right, I forgot the modelled it bit. You need it to be flat to model the celestial sphere. So after you've ignored it and then measured it as flat, and then ignored that you've measured it as flat, and then plotted that flat measurement into a flat map that was derived from flat measurements, and then ignored it, then you can apply the Habersign formula to all of that flatness to give you the sphere. I mean, we've kind of got a question semi-refined, which is, what are you applying the Habersign formula to? That's a spherical conversion. If Earth's a sphere, the answer being they're applying it to a flat plane. That conversion to spherical from the flat plane they measure. That does conclude the housekeeping. Jolly good stuff. Chocolate.
Give me a second.
Give you a few seconds. Okay. Well, I'll do a warm up. So yesterday we were still chatting away after hours on G Plus for whatever reason, and it was brought to my attention that I'm being slandered on. I shouldn't really laugh about this, but it's backfired no matter what. I can't really deny the fact that this has gained me more traction, more money, more everything in terms of positives. It's all gone very nicely for me at this point. Nevertheless, Jaren's attacking me on Facebook, so I'm told. Now, when I was told that this has all been posted in Skype, and I was asked, have you read it? I was like, no, I haven't read any of this. I'm not interested. The guy's dead to me. Why would I read this? No. So, in any event, the people who did read it were like, no, well, we want to react to it. So, based on that, I haven't actually listened to it being read out in full, but now it's going to be you'll hear my reaction to it for the first time, because I wandered off while they were discussing it on the what would we call that? An after show, private call, whatever we call it. But yeah, the guys wanted to go through it, and Chocolate's volunteered. I say he's volunteered. There was a lot of discussion to actually read out the text in the first instance, and then we're going to discuss it after the fact, if that's okay with everybody. If you are in Gilded, please pop yourself on mute. If you're in G+, again, if you can pop yourselves on mute, I'll do the same. Chocolate will read through it, and then we'll go through it piece by piece. Chocolate, I've bought you enough
show
time.
that you didn't let me know about.
That means if you are in G+, say it one more time, a little bit slower. Please stay on mute. Chocolate, do you need me to buy you a few more minutes?
No, I'm good. How do I sound?
Sound great.
Is it quiet enough?
Perfect.
Most of the
Sound great.
coworkers took off today. All right, cool. So just to preface this, I received a message a few days ago from someone. Shout out to Steven, who sent me this. He's been a friend for a while, a long time subscriber to the show. Always hits me up with good stuff. And he sent me this message on Facebook, which was a link to, I guess, Jaren's Facebook, where he had a nice diatribe against Nathan and us. And I'm just going to read it out, just so you know. I mean, it's public information. It's on Facebook, so I don't think it should be a problem. So here we go. Jaren Campanella. Isn't it sad we have to navigate this world by dealing with scumbag scammers around every corner? They may seem nice at first, but you realize quickly that they are monsters. Disgusting, garbage humans that care for no one but themselves. Vile, gross, pathetic excuses for men are everywhere, so Nathan Oakley isn't special. Just another turd on the ground you should walk around. Because once on your shoe, it becomes cumbersome to scrape off. You see, what scammers do is they find a target and realize, oh, look, I can get more than 1,000 views if I start talking shit about this guy. I'll put his face in my thumbnails and name and description because that's the only way to get anyone to watch my tired nonsense. Please share the show. It's fun. 10th Man comes up off Nathan's junk a few times a show. Basically, to summarize, that he was just down there measuring angles. Arwen might show up to rage quit and throw things. FEH, in parentheses, Flat Earth Homos, used to be a decent show. Until Nathan couldn't get views anymore and decided to become a yelling, screaming garbage slinger. Did a whole video about me saying I'm doing this or that because of Ether. Yeah, you heard me, because you know how much I talk about Ether. But expect it. When all someone has is a mute button and strawmans, you can bet that person truly has nothing. Want an example of how the good person he is? He writes me a sob story about how me calling him a scammer is taking food off his plate. So I'm thinking, maybe he's an idiot who actually believes the crap coming out of his mouth. So I attempt to listen to his show, and he says he hopes I get hit by a bus. Real good person over there. I'm supposed to care about taking food off of his family's plates, while this guy hopes my family grows up without a dad or husband at all. Garbage human. Notice the trend. It's all a show, ladies and gentlemen. This is the only way for Nathan to get over 1,000 views. So expect it. He won't stop scamming. even using flat earth fights to get eyes on his shit show. Word of advice: if you've been doing a daily show for 7 years and you get 1,000 views, quit. Now, regarding water boiling at 100 C, because Oakley said so, shh, nobody tell dumbfuck his assertions are false, because all he can do is double down. There are actually all sorts of variations in the boiling temperature of water. For example, there are differences of several degrees depending on the material of the container in which the boiling takes place. And removing dissolved air from water can easily raise the boiling temperature by about 10 degrees centigrade. So Nathan, if you need money to feed your family, period, then make a bet. 5K. Loser leaves YouTube. The bet is simple. You and I go into a lab or wherever you choose, and we heat up 3 things of water. If they all boil at exactly 100 C, you win. But when all of a sudden you have to worry about what the container they are in, and you realize water boils at 98, 99, 101, 103, then give me my money and get the fuck out of here. No room for scammers here telling people water boils at 100 C. What kind of world does this clown think we live in? Define boil. First bubble, all bubbles, ceramic pot, aluminum, Teflon, distilled water, tap water, same thermometer, any thermometer. But science proves water boils at 100 C at 1 ATM, atmosphere. If you believe that, then you might want to go look into the globe again, because obviously you love unproven nonsense spouted by those who love men. But he will never bet me because he needs views to feed his babies, and the only way to do that will be to use my name for a month. Scammy Brits. And that's the end of his post.
Who the fuck
Now-
is that guy?
Hey, no need.
Are you freaking
No need,
kidding
no
me?
need. Let's keep
Okay,
it
no,
civil.
right.
Let's keep it civil.
Hey, hold on.
Neil,
One at a time. Right, whoever
Neil,
swore,
okay.
try to not swear. But you can go first, whoever that was.
Hold on. Let me finish it off by
Oh, okay.
the guy who sent it to me. He sent me this along with a note after I said thanks for sharing that. He says, "No problem, brother. Just so you know, I'm not sending this to you in the hopes of stirring the shit pot. I simply wanted this to reach Nathan so he's up to date with the current nonsensical rhetoric. Seems to me that Jaren and Bob are much better off dealing with their own internal issue, as if science proves things or doesn't prove things, rather than attacking Nathan and crew. They, in my eyes, have a much more pressing issue to deal with one another instead of addressing Nathan and Nathan's panel. Just my opinion. I could be wrong. And that's that."
So the guy who sent it you immediately identified what has actually been claimed. Science
immediately.
proves, and in the example, heat is the independent variable. The quantitative versus the qualitative. So the quality that we're assessing is the independent variable we manipulate. Now he's given us a few more in that I didn't write them down. I never carry a pen. I'm so unorganized. Can anybody remember the list of extra things he gave us that could vary?
Hold on a sec. But he's already conceded that the heat will cause the water to boil. Now he's just trying to nitpick at what temperature it will happen.
Sure, but I've just covered that. So, okay, qualitative versus quantitative. Who wants to cover that? Clearly nobody.
That's what I was. Well, no, I was getting ready to say that's the problem that he's in right now, and that's why he's trying to push a straw man of something else, like he doesn't need. I'm getting feedback. He needs to be able to assert that these other variables will affect the temperature at which the water will be boiling. and argue over what boiling is. But he's conceding that heat will cause water to boil. So he's already lost the argument. Now he's just trying to nitpick after he's conceded.
I find the irony of that is that he's going to use an empirical scientific method to demonstrate to Nathan that science doesn't prove anything.
Interesting, huh?
So yeah, the purpose of the method is to isolate an singular, independent variable, vary it, and see if it causes the effect you're studying, in this case, boiling water. So, Jaren's mistakenly thinking, well, we've got to get the water boiling first with the heat. It's like, God. I don't know. I haven't thought about this, but can we actually dumb this down any further for Jeren? We've already covered it, and he said in this message, it seemed like he'd listened to the show when we covered the soil content that he raised last time. So we all varied the soil, obviously keeping everything else constant. That's how the method works. The word independent should give the game away. It's a variable that's on its own, alone, without anything else changing. So Jeren adding in, well, what about if this changes? Yeah, no worries. Yeah, we've got to vary the what to see if that causes it to boil. Now, the reason I've included 100 degrees C at sea level is to state that there are controls. They aren't necessary in a hypothesis. Water will boil if heat's applied, right? That's simple stuff. I thought I'd dumbed it down enough for the guy. Clearly not. Okay, no worries. I mean, I'll try and dumb it down a bit further. But we can add all of the variables you like through the method, one at a time, by holding everything else constant and varying the container we put the water in, Jeren. Yeah? No, it's not exactly something that you'd find in nature, causing water to boil, but that's fine. We'll make the exception for you because we're dumbing it down, and we're going to use synthetic stuff because you've introduced them. No problem. So what we'll do, Jeren, to go through the empirical method that can only prove things as a result of using it correctly, is vary the bowls as an independent. You writing this down, Jeren? Have you got a pen? I'll just give Jeren a minute to get a pen. Independent. So if we're varying what bowl we've got the water in, we're not going to be varying anything else. We all clear? So just for Jeren, for the second time, this video's been trimmed out and will come out over the weekend. If you remember, you can check it out now. I'm not scamming you. I'm just demonstrating how science proves things. We'll vary Jeren's independent variable after we've formulated a hypothesis. We've still got half of it already established. DV, boiling water. A natural phenomena that we're trying to figure out the cause of. Okay? So, Jeren said bowl type. Independently going to be varied. You'll have a type of bowl and I'll have a type of bowl. Have we all got different bowls? I've got one that's ceramic. We'll say that 10th man's got one that's glass. We'll say that Arwin's got one that's plastic. Adam's got one that's Bakelite. We'll even have one that's made of chocolate. We're all happy with our bowls, lads? We varied them enough. We're going to vary bowl as an independent variable. Jeren's, I mean, I was going to say, I've got to keep it civil. I was going to say dumb, stupid, idiotic, moronic, ignorant, but I won't. At Jeren's request, we've now got an independent variable of bowl type. So just let me give it a sec.
Like I said, the irony of all of that.
I'm going to do this. I'm just going to get my composure, Adam. I'm sorry. I will be able to shoot my face off through this, I promise. Okay, so let's go through this for Jeren. We're going to formulate the hypothesis. If bowl, then water boiling. This is called an alternative hypothesis, aka if A, then B. If bowl, then water boiling. Water boiling. I'm gonna get my composure, I promise. Okay, we've also got to formulate the null, which is if bowl variation, then not water boiling. Okay, So only one outcome can be proven at the end of this process, because in both instances we vary bowl and we see if it does or does not cause water to boil. Now we've got two predictions. We're either going to prove our null or prove our alternative. Are we all ready, lads? Let's all pour the water into our varying different types of bowls. Everybody done it? Yep.
Mine's not boiling.
Anybody confirm the alternative? Anybody get the water to boil?
No.
So we all, in our systematic experimentation, varied our independent variable of bowl at Jaren's request, and it didn't cause the effect, Jaren. Obviously, we won't be varying altitude or temperature because they become constant variables, meaning they're constant when we vary our single, alone, independent variable of bowl, because that's how the method works. Now, obviously, given that we know the bowl doesn't cause the water to boil, we're going to keep the bowl as a plastic one. I mean, obviously, that might cause a problem when we apply heat, but we'll find that out later when we use heat as our independent variable. It might come with some constraints when we try and heat up our glass bowl or plastic bowl, but obviously that's a problem that we'll deal with, and obviously something we might overcome by way of systematic experimentation, you know, to get around these problems. But nevertheless, when we vary our independent variable of heat, I'm pretty damn sure that when we vary that as opposed to bowl, we're going to get the heat to make the water boil. Now, given that I also stated at what parameters, so I could state control variables, things that will not change, that would be at sea level, meaning you're not going to be going up in a hot air balloon with a stove. Yeah, you're keeping it at the same altitude, therefore the same pressure. Keeping things constant, other than heat, will vary heat. Did we vary heat? Should we do that now, lads? Just because Jaren, obviously at the end of this very tedious and very dumbed down explanation for our science can only prove things, we're going to take the actual cause of water boiling through the method also, just for Jaren. Because any reasonable man here is going to be like Jaren, aren't they? They're going to say, you can't just say water boils at 100 degrees C. That's temperature, aka induced from heat, Jaren. Yeah? That prerequisite variable that you've assumed when you ask me about whether varying the bowl will change things. No, we've still got the heat though, haven't we? As opposed to not having the heat, keeping it at maybe 30 degrees on a sunny day, and just changing the bloody bowl. I won't lose my temper with Jaren like I lost my temper with him when I said he could go to hell when we were talking on Skype. Yeah? I told him he could go to hell, and he laughed in my face and said he didn't believe in hell. So I later said, I'm trying to get my disdain while I'm spitting feathers through what I'm saying at you, across to you. I'm upset and angry at you. So saying you can be hit by a bus, Jaren, is me trying to get through to a laughing clown who's ignorant as all hell, that you've made me very angry when you've called me a scammer, not because I've said water boils at 100 degrees C, which any reasonable man understands and knows is true at sea level, but the heat is the cause proven by varying it as an independent variable, Jaren. That means that you vary something you assume causes a phenomena, in this case boiling water, and see if it causes it. So you can vary the salt content, Jaren, as you wisely suggested, because you're very clever at coming up with things to vary, and we can put each one of them independently through the method, holding all things constant. So if we vary soil, it doesn't cause water to boil, Jaren. But we prove that soil doesn't cause water to boil when we prove our null prediction. So we still proved that water wasn't caused to boil by soil, Jaren. We still proved that. And that's what you're calling me a scammer for. And that's why I've got you saying, well, Nathan, you know he's a scammer. Well, because when he goes around saying science proves things, science doesn't prove anything. So that is what our issue is here, Jaren. That's what I'm demanding a retraction for. It's what you are batshit insane crazy for stating, when I will go through indefinitely, not a month, not to get views, because it's useful as a tool to teach you directly. I can talk to you as an individual. You represent a very, very stupid audience member, and I know that my audience is far more intelligent than that. And Chocolate knows it because he's being told it by people who are communicating with him. And I am. They're all telling me the same thing. They're a loss based on your stupidity in this regard. They can't quite believe that someone that they liked and respected could be this stupid, Jaren. That's where we're at. But as a result, I can and will indefinitely dumb this down to the point that you, with your very, very low intelligence level, can understand that in an either-or prediction with logic behind it, if A, then B, or if A, not B, only one can and will be proven. That's our issue. That's what I'm demanding a retraction for. I'm not requesting a debate with a clown, moronic, ignorant fool about what temperature water boils at, because temperature infers we know the cause. And that's what science does, Jaren. Proves the cause. In this case, heat. Not soil, not salt, not bowl type. Heat. Required to make the water boil when holding all things constant. Independent variable, Jaren. A prediction that only has tick proven as an outcome, Jaren. That's the issue, Jaren. And yeah, you are absolutely threatening the livelihood of my children when you claim I'm a scammer for saying, rightfully so, that science proves things. I'll demonstrate it till I'm blue in the face, humiliating you in the process. Because A, metaphorically speaking, because obviously Jaren's too stupid to understand, I'd hope you get hit by a bus, meaning you're dead to me, man. You're dead to me. That's what it means. You're too stupid to understand that. There is no hope for you. But you're still useful as a popular clown to demonstrate how wrong you are about what science does and does not do when you say it doesn't prove things, and I'm a scammer for saying it does. Hope we're all clear. I'm sure we all lost the track of actual Chocolate saying, going through every other point. I'm so sorry, Chocolate, to have distracted everyone away from your beautiful dulcet tones in reading that out, and I thank you for doing so.
Over, mate.
Yeah, no problem.
No, I hope this server gets banned again because, like, look what happened on Discord. Discord kicked y'all ass out of there. Like, damn. You guys still believe that Earth is a CD in space? Shit.
Nobody believed that. You're retarded.
I want Nathan Oakley to come back on VC real quick so I could get his autograph for being a jackass on Discord. No, hold on a second. You guys like to run your show, be dick and shit and stuff. Hey, guys, stop
I've been
chatting.
playing music this whole time. Just relax. Take it back.
Hello.
Yeah, go
That's
away,
fine.
dude.
So, Jeremiah.
I'm here.
Yeah, we've just got a couple of things.
What happened to the other server was because they were spreading all sort of misinformation on COVID-19 and all that shit. They were spreading
So what he wants to do is do that right away here. Server ban this person. So what's got you banned on Discord is a load of wankers coming in and spreading disinformation about X, Y, and Z that inadvertently I'm going to do here now on this server. Whoever is in as a moderator, please can you server ban this person immediately? Thank you.
I just want to, you guys need to be.
We're not going to do anything, dummy. You're just going to go away.
Different guy.
Continue your mental breakdown somewhere else.
Okay. So thank you, Chocolate. We'll try and get this train wreck back on track. There was a fundy that wanted to obviously take down this server in the same way some wanker came along and took down the Discord server, which I wasn't going to necessarily discuss, but it's been brought up beyond my control by a Glober who's got verbal diarrhea about Discord servers and how they get shut down, which he wants to broadcast now live for me on YouTube. Total asshole. Yeah, deserves to be immediately banned from the server. That's not tolerated. Get lost. How dare you? One asshole. Anyway, Chocolate. I'm sure people want to talk about your excellent rendition of what was a pretty disgusting thing to listen to, but there we go. It's not the first thing I've had from Jaren in the last week, because I say science proves things, not because I'm arguing about what temperature water boils at.
Well, I want to point out something about Jaren and what he did. is he publicly called you a scammer, damaging your livelihood. And then he compared that to a private conversation with you where you're furious that he did it, and somehow comparing them as if it's in any way comparable. You know, like he actually did something that affects you. You just said something because you were angry with him in private. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, so
Unless he just doesn't know the difference anymore.
I'll just say having to read that was kind of felt gross a little bit, just because it's like I couldn't believe that that what I'm reading is from who I'm reading it from. You know what I mean? It's crazy that this has gotten to this point. And for him to talk about your family and money, you know, your babies, and like, to me, that just, I lose a lot of respect for a man after doing shit like that. You know, calling people liars and, you know, asshole, that's fine. You know, but once you get into like calling somebody a scammer, especially when you have no proof of such thing, you're just saying that because you're mad. To me, it's really immature to me.
Or just projecting.
And to think about it, I mean, this is a fight over boiling water. This is where we at in 2022, and you make fun of the 10th man talking about angles, but here you are with boiling water, and you can't work that out. So
I don't think it's a fight about boiling water. I think it goes a little deeper.
Yeah,
than that.
obviously it's
Pride.
Yes, but
Pride,
I'd like
baby,
to-
pride.
Okay, hang on, Neil. Adam, if you're here, can you please say what you said earlier? Because that was spot on.
I'm not sure what I said. I'll just say what.
Get closer to the mic when you do.
Yeah, sorry. The first part, I've got no. You heard it yourself. It's not worthy of rebuttal. The latter part, I look forward to it. If I'm being honest, doesn't need to be a challenge, but if Jeran can set up an experiment where he's going to vary the container and demonstrate the different temperatures that the same water will boil at, and if you can do that in an empirical method, then I'd concede that demonstrates in a scientific way that water does boil at different temperatures in different containers.
Don't want to do that. I've got to stop you. I'm really sorry.
Well, let me finish. He would have proven that, yeah, in an empirical way if he does it with experiment, yeah. He would prove that, but what he does in doing so negates his whole argument of being here. That's the contradiction in it.
Yes. Okay. I'm sorry to talk over you. We're getting close to the end of the live show. Adam's saying I could take Jeran at his word and say, okay, I'll take you up on your offer, Jeran. No worries. We'll obviously define terms. We're going to do experiments. Okay, so we're going to be doing hypothesis tests. Okay, this is science. Brilliant. So we're only going to have one independent variable. Your query and concern is that there's different bowls. No problem. We've already done it on this show. Bowl is going to be your independent variable. When you start putting Bunsen burners under stuff, I'll say, what the hell are you doing? You got two variables. That's not independent, man. Don't you understand how science works? And well, maybe I'll do it on camera with you, Jeran, with us standing next to each other. Yeah? When you snatch your own wig off and start sticking heat underneath things, I'll say, what are you doing? You're varying the heat as well as the container. That doesn't sound like you understand what the word independent means, Jeran. And I'll get you to shut down your channel. I don't want to take food off your kids. Yeah, I'm just getting as angry as I did with him on Skype. Let's try and contain myself. I don't want to take food off your table, Jeran. I don't want to shut down your channel and humiliate you, as I've just metaphorically done by winning that bet. Because when it came to the terms of the bet, when you say experiment, we're talking about actualization of hypotheses. If it's science. So under those terms, you've already lost your channel, Jeran. So I'll take it in Bitcoin, mate. Yeah? How much did he say he was going to give me? You don't have to shut down your channel, but I'm desperate for the money, Jeran. I'm poor as all fuck. Yeah, and it does affect me when you publicly call me a scammer. It's an absolute outrage. That's why I'm demanding a retraction for it and going out of my way to prove how wrong you are. with example after example after example. Not because I need your name in my bloody videos. I'd rather be dealing with globers than with flat earthers. And why? Because this is the reality, right? Jeran, in this arena, as my heart beats at about 150 BPM, can do significantly more damage to me than any glober who disagrees with me. So from internally, Jeran could end me. And he damn well knows it, don't you, Jeran? You could end my channel, right? You could easily do it. You've got a big, nice audience that could just turn against me at any moment just because you turn against me. And that's what you're proceeding to do, isn't it, Jeran? Essentially, take the food out of my kids' mouths. Yeah, while they're screaming in the background. Yeah, I feed them with this. That's what I do for a living. And you are directly threatening that, Jeran. That's why I was spitting feathers with you, losing my temper with you, as you chuckle your little fundy balls off at me getting really angry with you, telling me not to cry about it. Yeah, there's been a few tears shed, Jeran, because I see my livelihood going down the toilet because you can't concede that science proves things. So what, are you going to take a man's livelihood from him for that? Yeah, obviously I'm upset about it. Yeah, obviously I'm going to tell you to go to hell. Do you think that requires you to respond, I don't believe in hell, with some non sequitur when you're threatening my bloody career that I've built up? No. So I up the ante and say, I wish you'd be hit by a bus. Yeah, metaphorically speaking, meaning you're dead to me, as a consequence of this outrageous actions you've taken against me. So what are you going to take to Facebook now? Why? Because science proves things? Not because of ether. I've juxtaposed you saying science doesn't prove and I'm a scammer because I say it does, with Bob saying science proves ether. It's a juxtaposition with your own side so that they start getting angry. Now, they've obviously projected that anger directly onto me, when in reality, I've got you saying you're a scammer if you say science proves. So that works very nicely next to the old wound of Bob, when it's an outrage and it's just ridiculous to focus on the fact that he hasn't got any proof for his ether because he's claiming science when he hasn't got any. Much more useful to have you saying he's a bloody scammer for saying he's got proof with his science. But you want to turn it into whether water boils, or whether or not you're claiming ether, or whether or not I'm a horrible man for saying I hope you die. No, Jeran, in reality, I'd mourn if you died. I had, past tense, respect for you. And that would be remembered if you died. I don't wish that upon you in reality. I'm trying to convey my disdain. Now, that is 99% fear-based. Most people have the same reaction. I am not shy self-analysing my own monsters. They come out through fear. That's what this is, Jeran. My fear. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I'm terrified of losing my career that I've built up over the last 7 years because you've got an issue with scientific proof. That's the last cross I want to die on, and I'll fight to the death. That's what I'll do, Jeran. I'll fight you on this. And if I go down in flames, I'll go down in flames saying science unequivocally proves things, while you tell your audience of hundreds of thousands that I'm a scammer for saying it. No worries. I said to you at the end of our discussion, game on, mate. If that's how this has got to end, no problem. You'll see what tasting my balls is actually like. Do I want to dangle them in your mouth, mate? No, I do not. I want to get on with the business of dealing with Globe and the whole rhetoric that we've been deceived from as a Western world person. Not you in this tiny little pond. I've got bigger fish to fry. But unfortunately, you, as the tiny fish on YouTube with a couple of hundred measly thousand subs, when there's people out there with 11 and 12 million, I think it's massive when you're not. Comparatively, we're the same in that regard. But in the small pond, you can definitely end me in the way Bob nearly did 4 years ago for saying this exact same stuff. So yeah, I'm scared and I'm going to lash out and say things like go to hell. Oh, hell doesn't exist. Ha ha ha. It won't work out well for you coming against me, the big YouTuber. All right. Yeah, really rub that salt in, Jeran. Thanks. Yeah, you want me scared, don't you? Well, okay. Nothing more terrifying than a cornered animal, because I'll scrape your eyes out. I'm done.
Well said, Nathan. I'm totally with you. I mean, if I would in a personal call let's just say that Ranty would talk to me like that, right? And he kind of has. Yeah. Then I throw out everything I got, right? And if he says, oh, I'm not afraid of hell, well, if you're not afraid of hell, well, maybe then you'll just be afraid of death instead, right? Because you're just trying to get to him. Like, hey, what are you doing, man? Why are you doing this? I'm
It's
pretty sure
projection.
that you don't want to be
It's
enemies
my
with
projection.
Jaren.
My fear projected onto Jaren. I want you to be scared of something. I want you to be scared of death or hell. Like I'm scared of losing my career because I'm being called a scammer for saying science proves.
Exactly.
I can't even speak. So.
What a lovely day!